I always thought weddings were about unity, about bringing families together. But that day, as I stood in the back of the venue, watching my son pose for photos, I realized I no longer had a place. Not because I left, but because he chose to erase me. It started subtly. The invitation arrived with no mention of Mom. Just my name, first and last, tucked into the corner like an obligation. I brushed it off, told myself I was over. After all, it was his big day. I bought a dress, booked a hotel, even paid for a gift far more generous than my budget allowed. I was proud. My son was getting married. At the rehearsal dinner, I saw it for the first time. The divide. His fiancée's parents sat center stage, smiling for every camera flash. Me. I was seated next to the DJ booth. Not a single person from the wedding party greeted me. And when I asked my son if I could give a short toast, just a few words, he smiled awkwardly and said, "Actually, we're keeping speeches to a minimum. But thank you, Mom. The wedding day was beautiful." She walked down the aisle, glowing. He looked at her like she was the only person in the world, and I clapped. I clapped like any mother would, but something felt cold, distant. It wasn't until the family photos that I understood. I stood to the side, waiting to be called. The photographer gathered them all. Her parents, his father and stepmother, cousins, grandparents. I waited and waited. Then I heard someone whisper, "We've got everyone. Let us take the formal ones now. Primera fros. I stepped forward and asked gently, "Do you want one with me?" My son looked surprised, and then guilty. Sure. Maybe later." I nodded and stepped back, but the photo was already taken. I didn't cry. Not then. Not when I left early. Not when I saw my name missing from the official wedding program. Not when the thank you card arrived addressed to Miss Hamilton. But that night, I took out my will. And for the first time in years, I edited it. Not out of anger, but out of clarity. The weeks after the wedding passed slowly. I didn't call him. He didn't call me. I kept waiting for a message, an apology, a joke to brush it off. But silence became our language. I replayed that photo moment in my mind over and over. I had raised him alone. I worked 2 jobs. I missed birthdays so he could have opportunities. I never remarried, always thinking it would complicate his life. And now, he couldn't even say thank you in a speech. My sister asked if something had happened. I said no. I said it was a beautiful wedding. I lied. Months passed. Then, one Sunday morning, I received a message from him. It wasn't an apology. It was a casual, "Hey Mom, how are you?" As if nothing had happened. I didn't reply right away. Instead, I went to the drawer where I kept my documents. I reread my will. I made a decision, one that wouldn't hurt him, but one he'd remember. I booked an appointment with my lawyer. "I'd like to add a personal message to my will," I said. "Of course," she replied. "What do you want it to say?" I paused. Then I spoke carefully. "Tell him, I love you." But I saw the photo, and I understood that was all I needed to say. After that, I tried to live my life. I started volunteering. I spent more time with old friends. I even took a trip to Maine, alone. It felt frank, like reclaiming a version of myself I hadn't seen in years. And then he called. "Mom, can we talk?" "Of course," I said. He came over the next day. Sat on the couch, fidgeting with his hands. "I feel like you've been distant," he said. I smiled. "I've just been living." He looked confused. "Did I do something wrong?" I didn't answer immediately. Then I said, "I think you forgot I'm still here." He sat there, quiet, like a child again, the same way he looked when he broke my favorite vase, and waited for my reaction. But this time, it wasn't a broken object. It was something much deeper, something harder to glue back together. I leaned back and took a breath. "Do you remember when you were 10 and you refused to take a photo with me at the science fair?" He blinked. "No," I was so proud of your volcano project. You got first place. But when I asked for a picture together, you said it was embarrassing. He laughed, unsure of why I was bringing this up. I let it go, I continued. I thought it was a phase, that you'd grow out of it. But I think some part of you never did. He opened his mouth, then closed it again. I stood up and brought out a photo album, the one I hadn't opened in years. Here, I said, opening to the first page. Your kindergarten graduation. Look how happy we were. Page after page, I turned. Birthday parties. Halloweens. Summer trips. Always just the two of us. Always me behind the camera, or by your side. You used to look at me like I was your whole world, I whispered. What happened to that? He swallowed hard. I don't know. I guess I took it for granted. I nodded. It happens, but weddings are moments we remember forever. And when I stood there, watching you take that photo, without me, I realized I had spent years trying to earn a place I already paid for in full. He closed his eyes. I wasn't asking to be celebrated, I said, just in clue. He looked up. His eyes were wet. I messed up, he said, and not just at the wedding. I've been distant, focused on the wrong things. There was silence between us. Then, slowly, I stood up and said, I made a change in my will. His face stiffened. I didn't cut you off, I added quickly, but I left you something more important than money. He furrowed his brow. A message. For the day you open it. I looked, down hands shaking. What does it say? I smiled softly. You'll know when it matters most. That night, I sat alone in my room, watching the moonlight spill across the floor. I thought about legacy not just in terms of inheritance, but memory, emotion, impact. He had hurt me, but I still loved him. That was the complexity of motherhood, the ability to hold love and pain in the same breath. The next week, he sent me flowers. 10 later than an invitation. It was for a brunch. He was hosting a family appreciation day, he called it. I wasn't sure what to expect, but I went. When I arrived, there were photos on every wall. Childhood photos. Me and him. Me laughing, me cooking, me holding him on his first day of school. I stood frozen. At the end of the hallway, a framed photo sat alone. It was from the wedding, but not the one I missed. A new one. I was standing beside him. We were both smiling. It wasn't a professional photo. Someone must have taken it secretly. But it was there. He walked up behind me. I asked the photographer to send me everything, he said. This one mattered. I couldn't speak. He just nodded. I left the brunch with the photo clutched in my hands. It wasn't the official one, not the one that made it to social media. But it was the one that mattered. He had remembered. He had tried to repair what was broken. Still, I didn't change my will. Not because I was angry, but because the message still stood. Some lessons are only truly understood when you're ready. When the echo of regret grows louder than pride. I wanted him to reach that moment, not through punishment, but through pause, through reflection. Weeks turned into months. We spoke more, sometimes briefly, sometimes deeply. He told me about his new job, his wife's promotion, the plans for a house, a baby on the way. He never asked about the will, but I knew it lingered. One day, he came to visit alone. We sat on the porch, sipping tea. The wind was soft, the air full of quiet things left unsaid. "Mom," he said finally, "can I ask you something?" I looked at him. Of course. That message you left. In the will? You said you saw the photo and understood. What did you mean? I took a deep breath. It means I saw you become someone I didn't recognize. Someone who forgot the hands that raised him, the meals made late at night, the sleepless years. I understood that motherhood doesn't always guarantee memory. He was quiet, but I also understood something else. I continued. That love doesn't disappear. It just shifts, changes shape. He nodded, eyes full. I'm sorry, he said, voice shaking. Truly. For the photo. For everything. I smiled. I know. Then he reached into his bag and handed me an envelope. What's this? He hesitated. My will. I looked up. I added a message, he said. For my future child, about you. My heart caught in my chest. He stood, kissed my forehead, and left. That night, I read the letter inside. To my child, if you ever forget who held your hand first, remember this name, your grandmother. She taught me everything about love, even when I didn't deserve it. Tears fell silently onto the paper. The next morning, I went to the lawyer's office. I'd like to update my will, I said. Remove the message? She asked. I shook my head. No, just add one more. She nodded. I handed her a slip of paper. It read, You found your way back to me. That's all I ever wanted.